evening from Wales, wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are watching Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, your one-stop shop for professional wrestling, insight news, and reviews on a daily basis. Of course, last night with another edition of AEW Dynamite, and we're going to be talking about that today, as well as talking about if Harley Cameron should shock the world and become the new TBS champion, because a lot of people are calling for it after last night's Dynamite. But before we get into all of that, let me introduce today's panel, and let's kick things off with Clark Taylor. How are you today, Clark?
I'm fired up to be here. We finally got some rain here in SoCal, much needed, but I can't lie to you, Ben. I miss Swansea. Swansea.
Do you want a quick look behind the scenes too?
Yeah.
So basically, the reason why
baseball.
The reason why I stopped doing it was I was getting frustrated at how many people were thinking Swansea was in England. However, since they've stopped Swansea, everybody in Swansea has gotten very frustrated at the fact they've stopped saying Swansea. So you know what? Maybe we're just gonna have to go back.
I love it. I've missed it.
Okay, well, good evening from Swansea. Shad, how are you today?
Oh, I am good, man. I'm here with two Kansas City Chiefs fans wearing my Philadelphia Eagles jersey and my hat. You know, I didn't get the pod with y'all on Tuesday, but now I'm undeniable. Y'all had to come and see me. Fly, Eagles, fly. We are the Super Bowl champions. I can't wait till Clark's Jason Kelce jersey come in. He's gonna look absolutely stunning in it, man. My guy will pull off. You got the Kelly Green, right?
Yes. I've never been more frustrated. Like, this is the second time that in the last calendar year this has happened to me. Like, I ordered the jersey in anticipation of a potential loss because fast pay, fast friends when it comes to a bet. I also kind of wanted the jersey for a collection anyway too, so it was like a double whammy. Like, I can't lie there either, right? Kind of wanted it. I was like, it's cool. Like, I have Travis in the red and the white. Like, I had to get a Jason Kelly Green before they stopped selling them. Like, that's cool, right? If I was gonna have an Eagles jersey, if I ever go to an Eagle game in Philly with my friends, like, of course I'd root for them as long as they're not playing the Chiefs, right?
Yeah.
So it was kind of like not a problem. So they shipped it to me, and I just like, okay, great. Like, when I lose the bet, I'll open it and just like let it sit on the counter for a week. And so then I go to open it yesterday or Tuesday afternoon to pay off my bet with Shad, and it's a size small. And if you've met me in person, a size small is not a choice for me. So I had to make a phone call and return it. And we do have the XL on the way, but yeah, if you've met me, I don't fit in a size small.
Well, there we are then.
That's not the right
Jason Kelce jersey on off the air.
We get old and
I need to find like a style to wear that one. No, I was tired though. I shipped it back.
Comes here by Saturday. We lit.
That's what I'm hoping for. They said they'll get it back to me as quickly as possible, that it was their mistake and blah, blah, blah. That it's like one of the most popular items on the website.
It is what it is.
In some sports games after it, you can be like, oh, you guys got lucky or whatever. In this case, you guys did not get lucky. It was the most deserving win, I think.
Against the Kansas City Chiefs.
It was a thrashing. Me and Clark were not too happy at all.
Legitimately nothing but respect, though. Like, honestly, it's funny to me because the Chiefs and Eagles isn't like a rivalry, right? It's AFC, NFC, but to play the two Super Bowls, have it be 1-1, like, I would love the rubber match for the sake of, I love great sports stories. For the sake of great sports stories, we gotta have the rubber match in the Super Bowl.
Next year it'll happen.
100%.
Absolutely. I actually think Taylor Swift is the reason you guys won, right? Because Taylor Swift, it was the first game she attended of the season where she didn't wear red. So I think it all
she had like she had a neutral.
Yeah, because she of course is an Eagles fan. Like, she actually is an Eagles fan. I think she betrayed Travis personally, but hey, this isn't a Taylor Swift drama podcast, but it is a podcast about professional wrestling, and let's talk about Harley Cameron, because over the last few weeks, we've been finding out about more and more of her talents. So we knew already she could sing. Now we know she can rap, she can dance, she can speak Chinese, she's a ventriloquist, she can cut a good promo, she's great in ring now too. And she has made this story just absolutely amazing in like 3 weeks, right? This is one of the best told stories in 3 weeks that we've seen in professional wrestling for quite some time. I am so invested into it. And a lot of people are saying, hey, she's so over. Her beating Mercedes Mone in Australia, her home nation, would be a shock upset that would be worth it. I mean, dare I say it would be the biggest upset since Jinder Mahal beat Randy Orton at Backlash 2017. But if I'm being completely honest, I'd be here for it. I would not be against it at all. Soul says that it would be fun to see Harley win the title, but he doubts we will see both women from Australia lose their matches. One is definitely going to win and fix the heel and face ratio. I mean, absolutely, and I personally do think Mariah is going to retain, but Clark, I'm going to send this to you first. Should they do just a shock title change and give Harley the title because of the work she's been doing?
So I'm going to start with, if you are going to, you got to have Harley somehow outsmart her with a roll up, but like not a fluke one. It can't look like a fluke. It has to look like she made the heads up play that we didn't think she had in her repertoire to possibly beat Mercedes Mone. That's the only way you can pull this off. And I would love it. The moment would be electric. The moment would be incredible. But the answer is no, I don't think she should. I think she should get ever so close and Mercedes Mone retains the title by outsmarting her the other way psychologically in the ring.
Fair enough. I mean, it is one of those too where like I would not be gutted if Harley loses. My personal prediction is that she is going to lose as well. But I don't know. What if, Harley just wins it? It's like by a roll-up or something really, really small. Everybody's shocked. Australia's loving life. Mariah wins later on in the night, but nobody's as bothered because Harley's already won something. And it would make a star. And she's clearly talented enough to be a star for them. So why not make her into that star? I don't know. What about you, Shad? What are your thoughts?
Okay, well, first let me preface this. I think Harley Cameron has been one of the most impressive talents in professional wrestling. That isn't even tied to AEW. That's not even tied between a man and a woman. I think she's just one of the most talented pro wrestlers. To what you said, she's a jack of all trades, and more importantly, she's very character heavy. She's been so good as a heel and the comedy aspect to it, but now you add her into this element with Mercedes Mone, and you really have created a lovable babyface in the situation. And I think with that, my goodness, it is a tough one to call, and I think that's the beauty of it. I think you stack the chips that she's also going to be having this match in Australia. I think this has probably been one of the best Mercedes Mone storylines in AEW when we talk about an opponent, and this has happened so quickly. But power to her, man. That the video, the rap, everything that she had was like A++. Some of the best things I've ever seen. The cleverness of her rapping over the CEO rap, and also just that passionate promo saying that you look at me as a loser, right? And I think that's the thing that we can all kind of, as people at times, you can relate to it. You have a person who thinks that they're better than you, that puts you down, and you wanting to prove them wrong. Her saying stuff like, I once didn't know how to do all these stuff that I'm amazing at, rapping, singing, knowing Chinese. And now I can do the same for wrestling. I can master anything. I think that puts her as a legitimate competitor. I say that to say this. Mercedes Mone is still one of them ones. She is one of the greatest, if not the greatest, in-ring women's wrestler of all time. She is a person that AEW put a lot of money investment backing her into. And her losing to a person that has just quickly got over, but it hasn't been long lasting. Let's not forget, Harley Cameron has been a perennial loser prior to that, not disrespecting her, but like not winning matches. For her to lose off that, I think that takes a little bit of the merit away for what Mercedes does. And I think you got to add fuel to the fire, man. This is some old school wrestling tactics. You got to make the heel even hotter. You got to add more heat to what Mercedes has, because everyone doesn't like Mercedes for some reason online, and she's playing into it wonderfully. Add more to the heat. Have her beat the beloved babyface in her home country, and let Mercedes Mone become the best heel in professional wrestling. Let's keep building on to that. So with that, I would rather see Mercedes win, just because I think Harley Cameron wins having a good showing, and we can build off of that. We can get to this maybe at another time, later time. But CEO, it's Mercedes' time still, bro. I'm sorry.
CEO.
I do agree with you. I do agree with you on pretty much everything you said, Shad. I mean, I do also agree this is probably her best story in her title reign so far. And I completely agree with you. Mercedes Mone gets way too much hate. I am a Mone fan. I was a Sasha Banks fan, and I'm a Mone fan as well. One of the best women's wrestlers in the world, no doubt about it. But it does say something about Harley Cameron's talent in the fact that in 3 weeks, she's basically single-handedly made this the most important feud in Mone's, title reign.
So I agree, but I think like I said, character, like you always say this, character is king, right? Isn't that your quote that you always say? I think Harley Cameron is like arguably a better character than a lot of people on AEW in general. Like the woman is really, I'm telling you, I can't give her enough props. That promo after the rap yesterday was some of the best babyface promo I heard all year. Like she laid it all down and made you be like, damn, I sympathize for her so much. I really want her to win. Like that's kind of some type of situations where we, was rooting for for Sami Zayn, for Daniel Bryan, like that type of momentum. And like they need to keep. This is the thing. We talked about it earlier. AEW got a nice women's division. They got some great talent. And she's one person that is an incredible talent in the women's division. She's so unique and different. To me, I see the parallels. Like she reminds me of Chelsea Green a little bit. But she's got different layers to her because she's able to, it's the fact that I didn't expect her to be over as a babyface. Now she can play the card 2 times. She could be a good heel and a good babyface.
Not to even add to the cliche, but like if character is king, charisma is key, and she's got it in spades.
Yeah,
she's got as much charisma as anybody in the business. You just bleeds through, no matter what gimmick she's doing, no matter what the segment is. She's got that. You notice. Harley Cameron.
Absolutely.
Can I acknowledge a comment real quick? Because I see
go for it.
Comment, right? As well with Mercedes having so many international belts, she could take time off AEW TV, wrestle around the world as an AEW international ambassador. She's still yet to defend the Rev Pro. AEW got to keep their best people on the TV show.
Yeah, they pay her too much.
We want to just be sending the best players out on loan.
They can't afford to have her off TV for that long. So that's
an odd match. I think's good publicity, but they can't afford to, let her take time off and travel because one, it risks injuries too, but secondly, she earns so much money that you just can't really afford to do that. Fernando says Cameron does not need to win to become a star. She just has to have a good match and go the distance. 100% agree with you there.
Rocky one action, maybe a draw.
Yeah.
Oh, no, not another draw. We've done too many of those.
No, I know, but I was just making the Rocky 1 reference. I just like referencing Rocky if I can. It's a Philly-centric day.
Think about it like this, though. Like, we weren't even talking about her like that until the feud with Mercedes, right?
Well,
so the momentum is building for her. You just got to let her keep building momentum and utilizing her more than any. She was in the whole thing with Paige or Saraya, and that nobody.
Yeah.
That did not feel as fun as this.
QTV.
There might need to be a question
feel very
mark.
Fun.
I can't remember in the history of history when there has been somebody who has come out of nowhere with as much talent as Harley Cameron has. Aren't we absolutely certain, right? Somebody like I don't know, maybe Tony Khan's besties with Elon Musk, and they created put Neuralink in her head or something, made her into some genius.
You know what it is. And this is, I have to say this loud and proud. people keep saying AEW don't know how to make characters. AEW knows how to develop characters,
True.
bro.
It is true.
You look at Ricochet. Ricochet is the best Ricochet I've ever seen in his existence as a pro wrestler. Is what is happening now, because they find ways to build characters of what works for people, and she's someone that is a character that they build up on. Whoever is, I know WWE is WWE, right? They are the cream of the crop when they talk about storytelling, but AEW does a great job, and they've made a lot of great characters in the running as well. Tony Storm, Ricochet, Harley Cameron, Mariah May, like so many great people.
Swerve Strickland.
Yeah, man. There's a lot of people.
I don't understand though how she has so many hours in a day to be like, in all legitimately seriously, right? She must be on some John Cena type schedule, right? She is like learning Chinese while being a ventriloquist, while doing all of this rapping, singing, improving her in-ring work drastically, improving her promo work massively. How can she do it all?
I think she's a born entertainer.
She's enamored by side quests. There's a lot of people that love to do side quests. I'm the same way, man. That's why I picked up the podcast and stuff. I like doing side quests. I was battle rapping, running a league, doing different stuff, just because you feel passionate and you find something, you'll be like, oh, I'm good enough to conquer that. And you try to conquer it. She's got that type of motor. And that goes, and I'm talking more great about her. Is making me want to like
truthfully, there are just people in this world that, like, if you don't have something to challenge yourself, you'll go off the rails. You'll get bored. Honestly, that's just the only way it works. And if Harley Cameron is one of those people, which does very much appear she is, then the sky is not the limit, because there really isn't one. My
wife is rooting for her. I showed her the video. She likes Harley Cameron a lot. She's so funny. Like when we went to the AEW show and she did the little like commercial for the days of Christmas for the AEW shop, she's like, I like her. She's so silly and funny. And then I showed her the promo yesterday. She's like, I'm going for her. So.
Oh, I think a lot of people will be. That is for sure. Plus, Harley Cameron's a fan of Wrestling Republic as well, so shout out to her.
Feel the wrath of Harley Cameron.
Yes.
But now let's move on to somebody who just isn't a fan of wrestling media at all, and that's MJF, because I'm going to be honest, I haven't been a fan of MJF for about a year now. Well, over a year, to be brutally honest. I said earlier, since the feud with Will Ospreay, but I thought that was beneath him when he was cutting those promos too. I thought he was being his typical American like heel. I thought he could do a lot better, right? That was my issue with him then. The Adam Cole feud was universally hated. It absolutely sucked. Quite frankly, I haven't actually cared about MJF since World's End 2023 until last night. And part of that was his fantastic match against Dustin Rhodes. And honestly, Dustin Rhodes can still go at his age. It's absolutely incredible. And their match last night, it was only 11 minutes, but the crowd were into it. A lot of that, I think, was because of Dustin's promo last week. It was a brilliant promo, no doubt about it. But also the match was really fun. MJF did a fantastic job. And then the Hangman Page teases. Clark, I know you're a big Hangman guy. How badly do you want to see that feud? And what did you think of the match last night?
Well, first off, I was absolutely tickled. Anytime MJF can beat a member of his mentor's family and just prove to everyone that what we all know, which is that Cody Rhodes is afraid of MJF at this stage of their careers. Gosh. It's an absolute fact. He's terrified of the man. That's why he left AEW in the first place, is to get away from Max so he doesn't get overshadowed. We all know that that's the case, man. Despite all that last year bad stuff that you threw on top of it, we all know Cody Rhodes took his ball and he went over to the other team so that he could stay away from Max, the ultimate world beater. He, of course, beats the older, wiser brother of Cody in an excellent match, which I was stoked about. And then we have the Hangman stuff. I love this because Max tugged at the little things inside of Hangman Page, the anxious millennial cowboy that is inside of him. You're overcompensating. You're not who you used to be. You're not that cowboy. You're not. Oh, I cannot wait for this match, and I cannot wait to see the anxious millennial cowboy return. A little ghost town triumph Monster shout out, one of the best entrances in the sport. I'm glad they took it away just so they can bring it back. I can't wait for Hangman and MJF. It's going to be a show stealer. It's going to restore some of that luster that was knocked off MJF, to your point earlier, Ben. In all seriousness, jokes aside, it's going to be a show stealer, and I really can't wait for it.
Absolutely. And I do want to bring something quickly up as well about this and ask you about it, Clark. Because to your point, I do think this is going to lead to a Hangman face turn, right? I think MJF's going to bring that out of him. And I think Hangman is actually going to win the feud against MJF too. But my question is, because everyone and their mothers are predicting that Darby Allin is going to be the one to dethrone Jon Moxley to stop that. But I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think he should be. Why? Because in the middle of it all, he's fled the company and he's gone to climb a mountain. We spoke about side quests. Right. If he was really the face of a company, he'd be facing the enemy instead of going off to do these things. So I don't think it should be Darby. But what if it is Hangman? What if Hangman's the guy to save the company?
I have no problem with that because he kind of did it with the Kenny story, even though it wasn't presented in that way.
He's
already
the face
once.
Of the company overall,
and
really.
Yeah, there was a big stain. I actually am more impressed by weathering the storm, considering what we've seen since Brawl Out and his name being involved, yet he isn't physically involved. None of that. He changes the character. He gets rid of it. Ghost Town Triumph, AEW entrance music wise, is up there with when they would hit that song and the horses and everything. Like, come on, it was money straight out of a Western and all of that. And the idea that all of his characters involve psychology. Like MJF called him manic.
Mm-hmm.
He went manic.
He's the best crazy. Storyteller in AEW, in my opinion.
He's so underrated.
Maybe wrestling.
All of them, character-wise for Hangman, have a reason behind them, and they're slow burns. And I think it's brilliant. He's so underrated in that regard. To be able to bring back such a beloved version of himself that we saw take the title off Kenny against a bad guy as bad as MJF. What more can you ask for from a wrestling
y'all forgot to mention the best thing. He squashed Max Caster last night.
He squashed Max Caster last night.
He did. Do that. I mean, I'm trying to just forget.
He very much did that. As well.
Fans loved him last night too. They were chanting Hanger like crazy last night.
Yes.
Absolutely. He absolutely certainly was. I mean, Fernando says that he's loving the Hangman redemption story, no doubt about it. And Numero One is saying that he cannot wait for MJF versus Adam Page. Only question is, how are they going to explain Adam's face turn when he's burned Swift's house? Well, I think we actually started to see that last night.
Do that last night. Yeah, I was about to. Sorry, no, jinx.
MJF will pull the strings that you said.
Plus, he felt a bit. You saw a switch turn after Christopher Daniels when he went to him, when he told him that he ended his career. You felt him kind of like, dang, I've become a monster. Like he felt like he's starting to become disgusted of the man he's become.
Yeah. When the best part is during the height of his face run, it was his introspection. That's what made Hangman Page. The guy very much was self-aware. Like, Kenny's my friend, but it is an odd couple dynamic, and I've got his back. And then there's these muddy waters here now with the Elite and with Nick and Matt in general. Like, he navigated that so well from an introspection perspective. Like, I really do want to be the guy, but I'm also a team player, and it makes me nervous. So I've got my friends back, but sometimes, and that's why he went through the phase where he actually started like drinking too much. Remember, like, and so that's why
we have seen it before.
That's why he'd be late.
It's a lot more exaggerated,
right? But he'd be late to run in and stuff like that. Like, it was really, really, really high quality stuff.
Absolutely, no doubt about it. But something else which has really high quality stuff on it, is Demand Progress Plus. Let me talk to you guys about it real quickly. Should I because they have an event tomorrow, For the Love of Progress 3, live from Manchester, and you guys can watch it live on demand Progress Plus, and you can use code WatchProgress1 to get 50% off your first month on demand Progress Plus, the home of Progress Defy, and more. Now, the match to me which really stands out on that card is Simon Miller versus Charles Crawley, because I covered it in a video yesterday, but I'll quickly say this about it right now. They're going to be facing each other for the Proteus Championship in a WWE finishers match. And what that means is they have to hit somebody's finisher from WWE on the other person, then try to pin them to win the match. It's going to be a lot of fun, no doubt about it. So make sure you guys check that out and use code WatchProgress1 to get 50% of your first month on demand Progress Plus, the home of Progress Defy, and more. Now, without further ado, let's talk about Chris Statlander and Penelope Ford, because last night they were given 9 minutes. Most of the 9 minutes were in a commercial break, and they once again proved why the AEW Women's Division deserves an awful lot more time, because these 9 minutes, they made the most of them, didn't they, Shad?
They did. I thought this was a very well wrestled match. I think Penelope Ford, since returning from injury, has shown that she is not missed a beat being out as long as she is. She looks healthy. She's athletic as hell. She looks absolutely amazing. I think she's someone like the Harley Camerons that we mentioned. You could build off of her as a, viable challenger for a TBS title or AEW Women's Champion, given an opportunity. Like, she has a bit of an it factor to her, and she's from Philly. So salute to her. And Chris Statlander, man, I can't praise her enough, because she is one of the most talented women's wrestlers in professional wrestling. Anytime you give her an opportunity to go belt for belt with anybody on the roster, she rises to the occasion and she helps her competitor rise to the occasion. And I agree with a lot of the notion that you're saying. It is a situation where we should give more of an opportunity for these women to showcase their talents, given more fair time. That should happen. And that's, without a doubt. Now, the thing that moved me last night was pre-match and post-match. Pre-match, Megan Bayne beating Maya World, who's an incredible indie wrestler. If you don't know her, please follow her. She's awesome. In a faction with one of our guests from Sunday Spotlight, Kalia Sparks. Shameless plug. But got the squash, and then you see Stat walk down, and you can see the face-off. And then post-match, Megan Bayne attacks Chris Statlander. These two women are what I see the future of women's wrestling kind of gearing towards. And we see a lot of it in WWE. We see the muscle mommies, Jordan Grace now, Bianca, Rhea Ripley, Nia Jax, Raquel Rodriguez. They got two of them in AEW. Megan Bayne looks like an absolute superstar when she steps into the ring. And her being a woman with not that many words and letting pure just dominance and having that stoic look, and then you add that against a Chris Statlander, who is one of the most phenomenal, powerhouse women in pro wrestling. This has potential to be one of the biggest feuds in AEW women's history if given a right opportunity. And they can really deliver on a big time match. Like, this is something that can be super special. I think there's a lot of merit to allowing Statlander be Megan Bayne's first feud. I know a lot of the discourses, was she signed, was she not signed? I don't care about any of that. She's here now. And for them to give her Statlander out the gate, that means that they look at her as a primetime player and someone that they want to build off of. I think this is something that we can really, really sink our teeth in and look at a potential, like, just big time feud that doesn't even have a title tied to it. Like, whoever comes out the victory of it, you got to position one of those women for the titles. Whether Megan Bayne takes the title off of Mercedes, or whether Statlander reaches the, big time success that she should be. She should be an AEW Women's Champion at some point. She's been in the company for so long. She's the person that beat Jade Cargill. Like, she's one of the top women's wrestlers in AEW history. So let's keep building on to that. And that's something that moved me a lot, man. Like I'm here for it. I love it. I want to see that match 190 times if they give it to us.
Absolutely. I mean, there's zero doubt about it. Megan Bayne looks like a star. I think she could be a star. And quite frankly, AEW Women's Division has so many stars right now. It's starting to get, maybe an argument could start to be made that it's potentially the best if you're talking about pure rosters, so basically you could argue it's better than the Raw roster or it's better than the SmackDown roster. Not together, but one or the other. If you separate
NXT is still here, bro. NXT is still here.
I don't think it's that far now. I don't think it's that far. I do think NXT still wins, though. Fernando says Megan and Sat are going to have a brutal match. That is the perfect test for Megan, no doubt about it. DCX Warlord says, check out Reality of Wrestling for more matches of Maya World. Yeah. No doubt about it. Hello, Bobby Batito in the comments as well. Shout out to you. And George Williams says, Mone has too many belts. It wouldn't hurt her to lose one of them. Fair enough as well.
Those belts aren't AEW belts, bro.
Is that Mone or Mone? That's the artist I think he's talking about.
Yeah, the artist. Those belts aren't.
She did copyright both originally.
No, but the artist is a guy.
But now let's move on. Let's talk about Jon Moxley, the Death Riders, because I'm going to be honest, I defended this storyline for a while, and now they're just doing low blows, DQs, everything they said they were against. It makes absolutely no sense. It's the same thing every week. I have absolutely no interest in it. It's made me completely bored of Adam Copeland or Cope, whatever they want to call him now, which sucks as I'm a huge Edge guy, and I loved his first few months in AEW as well, but I am sick of this. But it looks like it's going to go on for a little bit longer because it is confirmed, it is official. Jon Moxley, Adam Copeland, just Cope now, will be taking on each other.
Shivani called Adam Copeland last night multiple times. You can say both.
Wrong too. At least it's not just me. But he doesn't like it. He just wants to be called Cope. He just wants to be called Cope. He went on a rant about it. But, Cope, Mox, Full Gear. Not Full Gear. That one's been Revolution in LA. I mean, listen, I think the match is going to be fun. The story, I really want to care for it. I really do. But I hate to just join on this hate train, but I kind of am. Shad, what are your thoughts on it?
Oh, man. It gets a little difficult defending the storyline as it kind of progresses. And I think a lot of it is just tied to, there isn't a sense of direction towards what's going on with the belts. Obviously, the trio belts are one of the situations that occur. But I still don't mind Moxley as this figure that's kind of going against the company and trying to create AEW in his image of how he feels like it's going to be. Like, I don't think it's a situation where the core of the story is great. It's just how we add the storyline to it. But I feel like it's one of those cases where it's such an easy course correction if you just fix it up, clean it up, and make it more compelling again. Like the idea of Moxley, holding the title hostage and all that, a lot of that is kind of silly, and a lot of that played to it last night. But the premise of him versus Colt, I think that's a big-time match that is going to put a lot of butts in seats because it's a match. These are two guys who are legends in pro wrestling going against each other, right? And I think they got to find a way to fix it. But I do agree. I don't think the story has been that great to it. I think the Death Riders are losing a little bit mystique towards it. I think a lot of it is kind of the side characters more to me. I think the Wheeler Yutas, the Pax, the Cesaros, or Claudio, I don't see a lot from them to it. And it becomes kind of like rinse and repeat. I feel like they got to divert and make it fresh, make us care about it more. The craziest thing that happened last night to me is that they threw Marina Shafir in a room. They pushed her. The problem got pushed into a room, and that's a big no-no to me. I think we need Marina Shafir to come back and just completely destroy Jay White again, destroy Colt maybe, because I think she's low. To me, I still think she's kind of the bright spot where they need to kind of show her a little bit more and have her do more stuff rather than just kind of be the China figure just standing tall and whatnot. And I did like the fact that she beat up Willow, even though I love Willow the most at any AEW women's wrestler. But like that's another thing that you can kind of like let her. She's still a wrestler at the end of the day, right? You got to let her kind of do stuff as well. But yeah, I don't know. It's clunky. It's definitely clunky. But I'm still holding on to my Death Rider stock. I haven't sold on it yet.
Well, I do agree with you about Marina. I think she has been the highlight of it so far. I mean, her carrying Renee away last week, I thought was brilliant. But also, have you seen, Shad, the interview that all the Death Riders, I think it was like half an hour, did with Renee?
Mm-hmm.
Because I
really
thought I thought it was brilliant until they just went against everything last night by doing low blows and all of this. But we do have a few comments I want to quickly go to. Bobby Petito is saying he's not a fan of the Death Riders. Number one is saying, why is Jay White okay with Cope getting a title shot? Something tells me Jay is going to screw Cope. I do agree with you, and I'm really sure for that feud. Jay White, Cope, I think that could be massively fun.
Let me say this, though. I will. Now, a lot of it is to the Death Riders. People are criticizing them.
Yeah.
This is the same edge that we got towards the latter half of him in WWE. Let's not act like Edge was that great towards the end of his time in WWE.
It's true.
He's the old, boring dad. He's the corny, cheesy dad. That's who he is. That's who he actually is in real life. And it's hard to shake that sometimes. And it's no problem. He's not the rated R superstar. You don't always get to be that. But he's a little bit of a, cheesy pops. And I
don't think that's the issue with this story, though, because people were complaining about it before he got involved. But we do have a few more comments I want to quickly get to. The Backstage Brawl is congratulating you on the Eagles and the newborn.
Big ups.
My boy, Backstage Brawl, good guy, man. I respect you, bro. Thank you.
And he's also saying that the main event scene is ass, even though the current direction of the story is weird, but it's easy to correct. I do agree. I don't think, and I said this on Allison Analysis today, I don't think they should just chuck away the story. They shouldn't do that. They just need to course correct a few things. It has potential. Moxley's fantastic. And like you said, Shot, it's a big money match, and it could be a banger. Clark, what are your thoughts on this one?
Okay, so I agree with a lot of what's already been said when it comes to the Death Riders storyline and what's going on. And so where my brain goes now, I could play the same game, and I'm not saying we were playing games, but I could just continue to pile on. And I'm like, well, how do we fix it? What do we do now?
They suck.
That's all I can think, right? Though, is what do we do now? Last night, I did see something that I didn't really actually think about. The motif of the briefcase with the belt. The way it was played upon by Cope, the artist formerly known as Edge, I enjoyed. And the idea that, maybe break it open. If there's some sort of explanatory payoff in relation to the briefcase, where I presented this hypothetically last night while watching it, where it's not the belt in there. And there's a reason behind that. It's something else that he's carrying around in the briefcase. And that gives you at least a better understanding of what's going on in this story as a whole. I've been asking for a why for a long time, and I feel like we keep getting closer and closer and closer, like they're teasing something that maybe they don't even know from a creative standpoint the answer to yet. But if the payoff is worth it, then the payoff's worth it. I don't know what it would be inside of there. Maybe some sort of an agreement with somebody else for why you're doing this. He's at the behest of somebody else. I will let everybody else use their own creative minds to think of who that could be. I don't know, Tony Khan, members of the Elite, somebody random. I'm not saying Shane McMahon. That's long.
You got to credit over. Number one for that.
That's long over. Shane's long over, I think, at this stage. But still, something's got to shift with this storyline, where it's just more clear as to the motivation behind the actions of the Death Riders. That's the big disconnect. If we knew why they were doing it, a lot of these things would land better than they have. It's just the truth. But there is no why. They've never explained why. And that's the precipice of this problem. because a lot of the wrestling has been high quality. Marina Shafir has gotten as over as she's ever been, as Shad and you mentioned. But there's no why.
Yeah.
What are they doing this for?
Agreed.
That's it.
You bang on the money. You absolutely are. But also, there is a comment I've got to read out because you said what's in their briefcase. DCX Warlord says an NDA from Brawl Out.
That'd be the greatest.
It does just scare me. It's too similar to the Eric Rowan "What's in the Box" storyline. Do you remember that?
No, not if it's a spider. Then I'm then that changes everything.
I think another thing we have to put into perspective is the fact that wrestling fans have a very short attention span.
Yeah,
when it comes to stuff, and I think Moxley is such a introspective, methodical guy when it comes to storylines. A lot of the promos are cut exactly long-term thinker. I think his idea is, like I said, it's them versus the establishment. That goes in so many different tunnels, so many different directions, so many different feuds or whatnot. So for y'all to want him to kind of just lose out the gate or lose very quickly, then that completely destroys purpose of what the faction is. Think about it like this: the Bloodline. That was a team.
Yeah.
That was a faction that ruled the WWE, and it took a lot of people to finally overcome and beat them. It took dynamics within each other to break in for it to finally break and crumble. That's one of those things where if you're going to do something like that, you got to play its course and let it happen. But to also what y'all was saying, the why definitely needs to be there because the fans won't be intrigued if there's not an actual story to sink their teeth in.
Absolutely. No, you are true. I think sometimes in Jon Moxley's head, this storyline, I'm sure, makes so much sense. I'm sure it'll be an absolute banger of a story, but the way it's playing out to the audience is it's not translating that way. The biggest issue, to your point, Clark, you said it perfectly, it's the why. We need that why. Once we have that why, make everything consistent with that why.
It's so much more digestible.
Yeah.
It's so much more digestible if we just understand why. I get last night was the first time it felt like they were at least teasing there is a why.
Mm-hmm.
When he was banging the briefcase with the bat, like, if the belt's in there, it is the belt in there. Maybe it's not. Like,
what could it be? Like, in all seriousness, what could it be, though, which wouldn't be, like, 1990s corny?
I mean, it could be a lot of crazy stuff. I mean, some sort of a contract situation where Mox has actually screwed himself up business-wise. The, I don't know, the learning tree. He's been at the behest of Jericho. That's ridiculous left field, but Tony Khan?
Yeah, it could be something that Tony Khan signed to them.
TK? It could be the Bucks and Kenny. It could be, which is too much, I think, because that's a separate faction. But TK is the most logical to me. I didn't want to just like lob that out there on this episode because I didn't want to turn that into a 20-minute conversation. But TK writing, you need to do this to save us, and kind of forcing him into it. And then you have
what I'd actually, the only one I'd be okay with. And even this, I think, is so stupid. But the only one which I'd be maybe okay with is if they're in there, there's a contract which was sent out in the mail to a certain someone, which Jon Moxley got access to before it was sent out in the mail. And it was a contract which Tony Khan signed. And he was sending it to Shane McMahon to try and bring him to the company. And Jon Moxley got hold of that, and he's like, I know what he did in 2019. I don't want to see it now. But even that would be so like why? But that's the only thing which I can even think of which makes a little tiny bit of sense.
It's got to be something, and I don't know that it's going to be a great reveal. I really don't think it is.
Well, he's already explained the briefcase, by the way. They have explained it. The logic behind it is that they believe the title has become a prop, and instead it's not become what it represents anymore, but it's just a prop, and therefore they
replaced it with
the title. So
prop.
It's just you can't see it. So it's meant to go back to what it actually means. It's so stupid. This is the point. They have said that's what they're trying to do. Anyway, on that note, I mean that pretty much brings us to the end of the show, and none of us are any of the wiser what's going on with the Death Riders. Hopefully next week we're a step closer. Thank you so much for joining me, Shad. Thank you so much for joining me, Clark. It has been a fun one today. And thank you to everybody in the comment section as well. We will be back same time, same place tomorrow for some predictions for AEW Grand Slam, as well as previewing the rest of the weekend in professional wrestling. We will see you guys then. Peace.